Hey, what's up everyone? So in this video, we're going to be working on milestone 3 and wrapping up the to-do list app. For this milestone, there's a couple of things we need to do. The first one is to be able to mark to-do items as complete. So we're going to be using an accessory type with a check mark to do this. And the second thing is we need to add a new view controller for our history tab, which is going to basically display a table view with all the completed to-do items. So let's jump back into our code. So this is where we left off the last time. We pretty much have milestone 1 and 2 complete. So we can see a to-do list here. And we also are able to add a new item to our to-do list, right? So it appears right there. Great. So for milestone 3, we're going to first start with the storyboard. And we're going to add a bar button item for our history tab right here. So let's grab a bar button item, and I'm going to use the organize, which looks like a folder. All right, and I also need a new view controller, and this is going to be our history tab, right? So I'm going to create a push and name it completed to-do items. Great. We also need a table view, so let's get that in there. So this is very similar to the to-do list view controller that we already have, which is this right here. So it has a table view, it has a cell, and this is pretty much going to be the same thing, except that we're going to display the completed to-do items on it. All right, and so now that we have a new view controller, we also need to create a new file to go along with it. So let's create a new file, call it completed to do items controller, and click next, create. Great. Okay, so we have this, and then we are also, once we have that, we're going to hook it up, right? So we're going to tell the storyboard that, all right, this is what I want it to be. Okay, so now that we have that, let's create our outlet. So I'm going to control drag from my table view, call it table view. All right, so that's looking good. Great. So now that we have that set up, let's give that a quick run. And let's also come back to our view controller. All right, so we have this, you click on it, shows you a back button. All right, looking good. Cool. So, all right, so the next thing we're going to work on is the check mark. And the way we are going to implement that is the table view gives us a method, which is did select row at index path, which pretty much tells us which row was selected when the user clicks on it. And the first thing we're going to do is we don't want it to be like highlighted like that, so we're going to deselect the row. So we're going to do deselect row at index path, and then animate to true. All right, so once that's done, we're going to add the check mark on it. What we're going to do is we need to get a reference of the cell that we're currently on. So if let cell equals table view dot cell for row at index path, we have an index path, we're going to grab that, and now we have the cell. We're going to say if cell, dot accessory type equal to none. So that means if there is no accessory type, they want to mark it as complete. So we're going to say cell dot accessory type equals check mark. Else do the opposite, right? So else cell dot accessory type equals none. Cool. So let's run that. We should have our check mark now. All right, it's looking good, looking good. And the other thing is, so if I go to a view controller and come back to it, like these check marks are still highlighted. So let's write a function to reset accessory type, right? So we're going to pretty much say, hey, for row in 0 to how many ever to-do items we have, so to-do items to-do list dot count, and here we're going to pretty much grab the cell. So if let cell equals table view dot cell for row at index path, but this time we don't have an index path. What we do have is a row, so we are going to use ns index path with for row and in section. So for row and in section 0, because we only have one section, so the section is going to be 0. So now that we have our cell, we can say cell.accessory type equals none, right? And we're going to call this from our view will appear method, because so the difference between view will load and view will appear is that the view did load is only called the first time that the view is loaded into memory, whereas the view will appear is called every time the view is shown, right? So if I go to a different view controller and go back, the view will appear, will get called. So that's when I want to reset all my accessory types. So let's run that. All right, so if I select a bunch of them, go to a view controller, come back, it's gone, right? Go to a view controller, come back, it's gone. Right on. So now that we have our check marks, the final thing to do is to sort of move the to-do items from this view controller onto the other one when something is checked. So if I check it, I know it's done. When I click on this, I should be able to see it here, and I should also delete it from that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a similar dictionary for my completed to-do items. So I'm going to call it completed to-do list. All right, and I'm going to just initialize it with an empty. So one thing I'm going to do here is the to-do list that I have as a dictionary, I'm actually going to make it a mutable array, because when I delete items, the key is not going to change, right? So you'll see that if I leave it as a dictionary and if I delete the second item here, you won't see anything on the first row, because this item would be deleted, right? So right now I'm using the keys, so I'm pretty much going to convert it to an array such that I don't need to keep track of the index, right? So if I delete something, it's going to take care of the index for me, and this is going to be a dictionary. That's great. Okay, so to-do items as string. All right, that's fine. Okay, cool. And so what I'm going to do is when someone checks it, right, so if they say, hey, this is complete, I want to do two things. So I want to say completed to-do items, and I want to add a new to-do item in it where I say to-do list of index path dot row as string, right? So I'm adding that to a new dictionary, and then I'm also going to want to delete dot remove object at index, and index is index path dot row. Okay, and so now that I do that, I will also need to reload table view dot reload data here. So when I come back, it reloads the data for me. Great. And then the last thing I need to do is to pass the information. I'm going to use this prepare for segue method, where I'm going to create a similar dictionary. Similar dictionary here in my completed to-do list view controller. And I'm going to be implementing the table view delegate methods. So the view did load. Let me just do a print completed to-do list items dot count, right? Okay, so that I know that the data was passed successfully. So here in my prepare, I'm going to say else if segue dot identifier completed to do items segue. So I need that. So let me go back to my storyboard, and I need to name this segue because that's what I'm trying to reference, right? Okay. So if I do this, I can say let completed to do items controller equals segue dot destination view controller as completed to do items view controller, right on. And then once I have that completed, I can pretty much just access completed to do items view controller dot completed to do list equals completed to do list as an int and a string, right? So that's the type of dictionary. All right, so this I think should be good. So okay, let's run this and see what happens, right? All right, I see I have a bunch of warnings there. So if okay, that's great. It crashed. Terminating app due to out of bounds. Okay, so this is a bug that needs to be fixed, right? So what's happening is so right now the count is 4, right? So if I click one of them, it's going to delete that particular thing for me, and count is going to become 3. But this guy, do your homework, still exists at count 4. So if I click it, hey, guess what? That thing doesn't exist. So it's going to crash. So I'll leave it up to you guys for extra credit, because I'm using the NS mutable array. And one thing you can do is to sort of get rid of, let me show you, get rid of this remove object at index path and create a new data structure, maybe just an array where you keep a track of, you don't delete it like right in here, but you keep a track of it, and then when you transition to a different view controller, you delete it, right? So okay, let me go back here. So those two get deleted, that's good. And then it tells me that 2 is the count. Okay, so that works. So completed to-do list, so that works, so that's good. And then the final thing I need to do is implement the UI table view and the delegate data source and the delegate methods here to get my table view to work. So let's do that. Don't need that. Don't need that. And then here I'm going to be like return completed dot count. If that's nil, then return 0. And then I'm going to copy this from here. Not that, my bad. This guy. All right, so grab that, paste it there, and I need to also name the cell. So let me name it completed to do item cell. So let me grab that, and I need to name this cell. There we go. All right, index path, and then this is going to be completed as string. Whoa, settle down. All right. Downcast. Oh, that's right. Never mind, because it's the dictionary, right? All right. So we should be good on that. All right. So let me run this. See what's up. So if I go there, ooh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to assign the delegate. All right. So it tells me the count is 1, so that works, right? So I pretty much just need to be like, hey, table view dot delegate equals self, table view dot data source equals self. All right. There we go. Walk the dog, watch a movie, go back here, watch a movie, new item, save that, check it, go back, completed to-do items, new items. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, so that pretty much completes milestone 3, and that'll be a wrap up for the to-do list app. So at this point, after the 3 milestones, it's a pretty functional to-do list app, right? And it teaches you the basic sort of concepts of, so here it teaches you the delegate pattern, where like you can pass information back to the original view controller. We started off implementing the table view, and over here we pretty much created a new view controller, and we passed the data in through a different pattern, which was to use the prepare for segue method and assign a variable in our destination view controller from the information that we had in the current view controller, right? So this works when you're going forward, and that's why we didn't have to use the delegate pattern here. Great, and we also implemented the accessory checkmark to mark it as complete and move it to the history tab. I think just for extra credit, if you've finished all of this, some things you can work on is making sure that this is persistent. So if I run this again, the new item that I added in is not going to be here because I'm pretty much loading all my to-do items from a dictionary, which is local, which is like on my project itself, but it's not stored in any database. So maybe that's one thing you can work on. You can also work on making it look prettier. Right now it looks really plain and simple. Maybe if you're interested, you can work on like the design stuff, making the startup screen more beautiful, adding color to the navigation, stuff like that. And I would also recommend just maybe doing it, one more time to get used to the table view, delegate pattern. It's a good sort of way to make sure that your foundation is strong. Awesome. Great. I'm going to end it up there, guys. Thanks. Bye.